You're listening to Storage Nerds Podcast, where we unravel the best-kept secret of the real estate investing world, the storage industry. Join the grassroots guru in self-storage, Stacy Rossetti, in insightful discussions about finding, funding, and running these spaces, allowing you to yield the highest returns possible. Get your foot in the door on self-storage and discover how to properly purchase facilities, negotiate with sellers, and close the deal without worries. Start unpacking that investment wisdom with Stacy right now.
What we're going to do today is we're going to go over just some self-storage 101 stuff and just really kind of, get you guys out there, get you guys looking and making sure that you are putting in offers. Now, the funniest thing is that I'm partnering on a deal right now in Ohio with one of my students. And I just got an email from her today. She picked up this facility for $3 million with 630 units. And actually, the very first facility that she bought was 125 units, and she got that facility in like southern Ohio for couple $100,000, like maybe $300,000. And she really turned that facility around, and it's worth like at least $800,000 or $900,000 right now. So that was a very good first facility for her. And then she started getting out and she started looking for other facilities to buy. And that's like a year later after she bought her first facility. And so she found this other facility. Actually, it was like 3 different facilities. It was a portfolio, and the owner wanted to sell all 3 of them. And it was 630 doors, and they wanted $2.9 million. And so she was just like, she's just like, how am I going to buy this thing? There's just like no way that I'll be able to buy this property. I only have $150,000. That's it. Like, that's all we have. I barely can come up with that. And, when we ran the numbers, I valued that property at $6 million. And I was like, you have to buy this property. You can't just let like $3 million just like go, like just be passed up. And, a lot of people, when they hear numbers like that, like this wall kind of comes up. And it's like, oh, I would never be able to afford that, and it's like way out of my league. And like, I'm just going to pass that one up because it's just not in my wheelhouse. I'm not going to be able to do something like that. And that's really kind of how she was too. When I was talking to her, she was like, I don't know what to do with this deal. She's like, maybe I could wholesale it. She's like, I'm going to be able to buy this thing. And I was just like, you have to buy this thing, right? You have to buy it. So let me just kind of get into that a little bit. So I can't remember what the square footage is, but it was like 3 facilities. And it totaled 630 doors. The owner wanted 2.9 million. The owner wanted like $3.2 million, but she talked the owner down to 2.9 million. After we went back and forth and stuff. And it was making around like this is like 3 years ago. Okay, so it's like very faint in my mind, but it was making around $300,000 a year. Right. I mean, so that's about right. You have, if $300,000, $3 million, back in the day, you could think, okay, it was making $300K a year. I'll pay like $3 million for it. That's kind of how you think. And, now obviously $300,000 a year for 630 doors really comes out to about 50 cents a square foot. I don't know how to use my thing. Just erase this. Here it is. Yeah, it was coming out to about 50 cents a square foot. If you do not know how to run commercial deal analysis, then you're in the right place because I teach this. I'm not going to teach it now. You can buy my deal analyzer and you can go through the course and you can learn how to run deal analysis. Right now, I'm just going to give you the highlights of this deal so that we can get into the aspect of what I want to teach you, which is how we raise the money for this deal. Okay, so, and anybody can do this. Anybody can do this. Okay. So it came out to around 50 cents a square foot. So obviously 50 cents a square foot at 300,000 means that, it should be double the price, right? So that's how we came up with the total value of $6 million after the rents were raised, right? So if you want to get it to like, if you want to get it to the full price, it was coming out to $6 million. So this was like the as is valuation, right? Or the current, and this is like the opportunity. This is what you look at. Like we look at the deal in like 3 potential scenarios. We look at like as is right now, what is it valued at? What's the opportunity? What's the potential? The potential is really taking it from a severely mismanaged facility to to an income producing property. This was producing income. This is producing, and it was full actually. Let's say it was like 85 to 90% full. Okay, something like this. Right. So it was it was making what it was making what it should be making. Now it was at 50 cents a square foot, and I think like the area called for like at least 85 to 90 cents a square foot, something like this, right? So, and then remember, this was like 3 years. This actually was like pre-COVID. I think she closed on the facility in like either the end of 2019 or beginning of 2020, like right before COVID. Okay, so so this is kind of the scenario. It was 3 facilities and it was all in one town. And so we ran the numbers and we had a valuation of $6 million. And the owner wanted 3 million. So obviously when you see these numbers, you're like, I have to buy this property. But how do you buy something like this, right? How do you come up with this? Okay. So the way it works, like in funding, right? For funding for commercial deals, okay, is that you have like really kind of 2 scenarios. You have traditional, and then you have like creative, okay? And the traditional is you go to a bank and you get a loan, right? And the creative is where you're coming up with some sort of creative structure. Like you're gonna do some sort of a JV, or you're gonna do owner financing, or you're gonna do a wrap, or whatever you're gonna do, like some sort of creative deal structure. And so when you look at like deals like this is, or actually what you could do is you can syndicate it. Okay, you're looking like in an overall picture when you look at deals like this, it's like, how can I fund something like this? How am I going to be able to afford $3 million? So these are kind of the scenarios that you're looking at. Can I go to a bank and get a loan? All right. And so in a bank, there's really kind of 2 different ways for you to fund something in a bank. There is, right, a 30% down fixed rate, which is called conventional, right? Or there's SBA, which is typically 10 to 15% down, and then the variable rate. Now there's variations of these loans. I mean, there's never 2 loans that are exactly the same, right? And so like, putting yourself into a box is really going to limit yourself to what you can be able to afford in any type of a deal. If you're like, oh, I can only afford like, X amount of dollars, and I can only come up with $50,000. So that means I can only afford this much. Then essentially what you're doing is you're just putting yourself into a box, and anything that falls in that box, anything that comes across your plate is what you could buy, right? But if you're just thinking to yourself, how much money can I actually come up with? How much money can I find? How much money can I actually find to buy a deal? Which is different than like, how much money do I have? All right. And so that's kind of how you look at deals like this. Most people, they're not going to put $1 million into a deal for a down payment and go and buy something. They're going to come up with some sort of a scenario to buy this property with putting as little money as possible down. All right. And so all investors that understand these concepts are going to be working on this. If you do not understand these concepts, then this is what you're thinking right here, right? You're like, okay, I have to come up with 30% down. So if you have a $3 million property, you're like, shit, I got to come up with like $1 million. And so you're like, I don't have $1 million. Well, screw that. So I'm out. I'm not gonna be able to buy this property, right? And this is exactly how my student was thinking. She was just like, I can come up with $1 million. Well, how am I gonna do that? Okay, and especially nowadays, like banks really want 30% down. Okay, so now you know how much money you're gonna need in order to get a loan. And so you find yourself asking, I'm gonna need $1 million to buy this property. Where am I gonna fund this? Where am I gonna find this? Where can I find this? Okay, and that's where these creative deal structures come in. So truly understanding how you can do this, how you can come up with all these creative structures is what's going to help you to be able to buy amazing properties where you can double the value of the property within a couple of years and reap the benefits. Okay. Now I've talked to many people then they say, oh, I never do partners. I never take on partners because like I've just had a really bad relationship with the partner and like that just sucks. And so like I'm out. Right. So that also puts you into like a really small buy box, right? You're not gonna be able to afford a lot of stuff because you're not thinking outside the box. And I mean, some deals don't work out, but if you do one deal and it sucks, I have done several very bad deals, very, very bad deals. And with partners, but I've also done many, many, many amazing deals with partners as well too. Well, this is one of them, right? So basically, when I talked to the student, she was like, where am I going to come up with $1 million? I was like, and at this time, it wasn't $1 million, but it was like 850 grand that we had to come up with in order for her to buy it. So what I did is I brought in two investors. Like I just asked two of my investors if they'd be interested in doing the deal, right? And they each brought in 250K each. Okay, so that's 500K. And then she put her 150K in. All right, that's 650K. All right, so we came up with like 650K is what we came up with. And then we went to the bank. We went to a bank and we told them, this is what we have. This is how much money that we have. Would you be interested in working with us? All right, so now remember that we're trying to get, $1 million. We're thinking in our mind that we have to come up, we're thinking in our mind that we have to come up with $1 million. All right, so like I'm working on trying to find one more person to put some money in to get us closer to that number. So what the student did is the student went to a local bank and actually all the local banks, because it wasn't a very big city. It was a city of maybe like 30 or 40,000 people. So it wasn't a big city. So they went to all the local banks in that area and they told them like, look, we're going to buy this property. Everybody knew all the properties. Everybody knew the owner. And they said, we really want to buy these properties. Would you be willing to work with us? And they were all like, yeah, of course, So we started sending all the information over and having these meetings with these bankers. And we let them know that this is how much money that we could come up with. Is there a way for us to work out an agreement for us to be able to buy this property for this much money? And what happened is one of the banks was open to us putting less money down. So in the end, we had to put like 20% down, or maybe even less. It may have come out to less because we only had like $650,000. So whatever that amount is, that's what we had to put down. And if we would have been thinking we have to come up with 30% down right now, or 15% down, or 20, or whatever it is, and we passed up this deal because of that, we would have never been able to negotiate with the bank in order to be able to purchase this property. Right? And the truth of the matter is everything and anything can be negotiated. If a bank really wants your business, they will work with you and they will come up with terms that fit the deal to make the deal work, to create this win-win situation. But a lot of people don't understand, or they just put this wall up and they just push the deal away because they don't think that they can do that. And in the end, we had to come up with whatever that amount of money is. So 2.9 million purchase price minus the 650K, okay, is what we had to come up with. So they financed like, I guess, 2.2 million, 2.25 million, whatever. Okay, they financed this. There's two parts to this whole investment or this transaction. Okay, one of them is how you're working with the bank, right, and the terms that you can get with the bank. So in the end, this 2.5 million, at the time, I think interest rates were like 6.5% or something like this. So they got like 6.5% interest, and they had the down payment. It's a 20-year loan, right? It's a 20-year loan, and that's what we ended up getting. The bank started working with us. Now, the other part of this equation is that we had the $650,000. So that there was 3 investors, right? Plus me. I got to cut the deal, right? Because I helped with the deal. So there's really 4 of us. And then And actually, I ended up putting some money into this deal. I put the closing costs and stuff into this deal. That's what I ended up doing. So I did the closing costs to close the deal. Okay. And so now you've got this, right? You've got out of your funding, right? Out of the way that you fund, we've got this conventional loan that we're working on. And then on top of that, we have a JV, we have a partnership. Okay, so these partners, we had to create an LLC. So there's 4 of us, 4 partners, and we created an LLC. And this LLC purchased the company, and we all got an equity split in the deal. And it was all dependent upon how much money, right, each person put into the deal. Money each person invested. Well, plus, then also the student got another cut in the deal for being the boots on the ground or being the manager as well. So the student put 150 grand in, plus has managed the deal. Okay, and so that is worth something as well too. So they got a cut for the money they put in, and they also got a cut for managing the deal. I got a small cut in the deal as well too. And then the people that put like 250 grand or whatever they put into it, they also got a cut in the deal. They also got the bigger cuts, right? They got because they put the more money in. Okay, so in the end, this student, right, bought a $2.9 million facility and only put 150K in, and ended up getting like a 25% split in the deal, something like this. Okay, and basically got like a $6 million deal for $150,000 and some sweat equity. Okay, and this student did an amazing job. They took this property from $300K annually to $585,000 annually. And now this property is listed for sale. This portfolio is listed for $6.5 million. And that was all done in less than 3 years. And this student only put 150 grand into this deal. That's it. Okay. So this $150,000, when they sell the property, is going to be $1 million. Okay. They're going to make $1 million in 3 years on this property. And they were going to pass this property up because in their mind, they thought that they only had $150,000 and they would not be able to afford this deal. They could only afford like a $700,000 deal. How many of you have looked at deals, looked at the price, and thought to yourself, I cannot afford that property because of the purchase price? I'm sure if you've looked at storage facilities or any property, this is exactly what you've thought. Okay. Now, what you have to do is you have to learn how to find money. You have to learn how to talk to people and ask people for money. Right. And also, so if you want to be able to do a deal like this, then put into the chat, yes, I want to do a deal like this. I would love to do a deal like this. Let me know. All right. But if you want to do some sort of a deal like this, there's 2 things that you need to know. 2 things. Okay. 1, how to find money. Where do you find the money? Where do you find all this money? Number 2 is you have to understand creative deal structures. If you can understand all these different types of structures that I talked about, let me just write them down again. JV, lease option, wrap, syndicate, crowdfund, owner finance. If you can understand these structures, the sky is the limit for you to be able to do any type of deal. Any deal that comes across your plate. All right, if it's a good deal, you do not have to pass it up if you understand these structures. I hate passing up good deals. It's like, I hate it. It's like the worst thing ever is to see a deal, know that you can make $3 million on the deal and not be able to purchase it. Okay? And then finding the money, right? Finding money is all about raising capital. right? If you know how to raise capital, then you know you buy anything that you want, right? In fact, just last week, about a month ago, somebody reached out to me and they told me, they set up a meeting with me and they said, what I'd like to invest with you. And everybody knows we're not buying storage facilities right now. What I'm doing is I'm partnering with my students and I'm making sure that my students are successful. So we're not buying storage facilities. We have 16 and it's enough for us. All right. So basically my goal is just, partnering with my students right now. So this guy reached out and he said, Stacy, I want to partner with you. I have around 300 grand. And he's like, we just came into this money and I'd like to, lend it to you, give it to you. And I was just like, well, I'm not taking any money right now. I don't need it. I don't want it. So, but you can, if you're interested, you could partner with one of my students. And he was like, yeah, I'd be open to that. I was like, I'll be in the deal. Like, I'll be there and I'll be part of the deal. I'll get an equity split. I'll be the mentor. I'll be the coach. And then we'll bring your money in as well too. And then, we can all do the deal together. And he was like, yeah, I'm totally open for that. So then the next week, I just happened to be talking to one of my students. And it's a deal that we found for them in turnkey acquisitions, and they're looking for just a little bit of money to be able to put for the down payment, just like this deal. It's like a $1.8 million deal, and the owner is going to sell or finance that deal, but the owner wants like $300,000 down or something, and they can come up with some of that money, but they can't come up with all of it. And I was like, oh, I know this guy that has some money, and he's looking to partner. Let's meet him and talk to him. So we met this guy, the partner, and the student on Zoom. And went over the deal, and the partner was like, yeah, let's do it. Like, I'm interested. I'll put the money in. And it was just really that simple, right? And I make it sound really simple, but it is. And do you know what it is? It's that I really just ask people for money. That's it. I just ask people for money. And if you can't get into the habit of asking people for money, then you're never going to be able to do this, because syndicating or asking a seller to seller finance is basically asking them for money, their own money, right? But asking them to be able to do a partnership or syndicating or owner financing is really just asking somebody for money. Okay. So the two things that you have to learn right now is you have to learn how to raise money, and you have to learn how to do a creative deal structure. You have to learn how to do creative deal structures. Right now, it is very, very difficult to fund deals. It's just a bad year, and it may be like this next year as well too. We don't know. But the more money that you have available to you, the more chances that you have of being able to do more deals. All right. So this is what I want to reiterate, is that I helped that student come up with the money for the investors, because I've been raising money for like almost 15 years now, and so I really have like a lot of people that I can lean to and ask money for. But the truth is that I had to start somewhere, just like you're starting somewhere. And the very first person that gave me money to do a deal was my neighbor. It was just my neighbor. I happened to be walking my dog, and my neighbor came out and he was like, hey, I haven't seen you in a while. And I was like, yeah, I was just at this training, and it teaches people how to raise money for real estate investing. And so that's kind of what he's like, oh, is that what you're getting into? I was like, I'm thinking about getting into like real estate investing. And so I've been trying to really educate myself on how to do the investing part, but also how to raise the money. And the neighbor was like, oh, really? That's interesting. He's like, yeah, I lent some money out to my condo, and like I made a really good return on that money. He's like, I'd be interested in doing something like that again. And he just told me that he wanted to give me money. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah. He's like, I'd be interested in lending some money out, like if you're gonna do some sort of real estate investing. And I was like, yeah. I was like, we could totally talk about it. He's like, cool, let's plan, like sit and talk about it. You can show me what you're doing. And so I we set up a time, and I had a little meeting, had a little presentations back when I used to do presentations. And I went through, and he was like the sweetest guy. He sat there and listened to my presentation, and he was like, yeah, let's do it. He's like, I'm open to it. Like, let's just try to figure out what we can do. And that is really how I started out in finding lenders. I found some random guy that was willing to just, give me money, to do real estate investing. And all I had to do was just kind of ask. And I had never done a deal before. I'd never done any real estate investing before. But there are people out there that are willing to like, partner with you or take a chance on you. But the only way you're ever going to be able to find those people is if you ask. I just had an email sent to me the other day. It was either an email or it was like a YouTube comment or something. And it was like, hey, like, I'm just wondering like how you find all your private lenders. And is there a place I can go to find private lenders so that I can do more deals? And I wrote back to this person and I said, a private lender is either going to be friends, family, or colleagues that you know. That's what private lenders are. And so, and that's really the truth. And so like right now I'm telling you that you have to learn how to raise capital in order to do a whole bunch of amazing deals, especially right now because everything is so expensive and commercial real estate is going to do nothing but get more expensive. It's very, very hard for you to find a deal under 500. It's very hard. So if you don't know how to raise money, you're not gonna be able to play this game. All right. And so this is something that you have to learn is how to raise money, how to talk to people about money, and how to ask people for money. And so I want you to make this a goal for yourself. And make it a goal. Just say, look, by the end of the year, I'm going to raise like $200,000. Who can I talk to that can give me money for a deal, either a storage deal or residential or multifamily or whatever it is. All right. So this is it. You have to ask, right? And then just come up with a number, whatever number. I think I can raise $200,000 by the end of this year. Who can I ask that may be able to do this? All right. And then I want you to learn how to structure deals so that you can, buy more deals. If you can't structure deals, then you're not gonna be able to do this. Now, this right here, this owner financing, this is all part of my deal analyzer, right? This is everything that I teach. Analyzer, I don't know, analyzer. I just spell it. But so this is part of the deal analysis. Like on my deal analyzer, you're giving a cash offer, creative deal, you create owner financing offers, and then like a bank financing offer. You're running deals like that. All right. So if you don't know how to do it, I highly recommend that you at least start with the deal analyzer. Okay, so that you can learn how to put these offers in. If you're not putting offers in that have creative deal structures, if you're only putting one offer in, it's just an offer, then you're just screwing yourself over. Right? You want to make sure you're giving like one offer that has 3 or 4 different types of scenarios, right? And so that's what the deal analyzer does. Also, what I wanted to tell you guys was that all my students can come to this boot camp for free, right? But the boot camp is called Funding Them, okay? And it's like 2 full days. It's a virtual boot camp, right? May 18th and 19th. And it's basically teaching this right here is what it's teaching. How to raise money and how to do creative deal structures. Okay. Now, I own 16 facilities. Okay. Of the 16 that I have, the first 11 that I bought, no, the first 10 that I bought, I had private lenders. So a private lender is like friends, family, colleagues. Like I just ask people for money and they just this is really debt lending is what it is. It's debt lending. Okay. The first 10. Number 11 is my first JV deal. All right. Plus owner financing. Some of these are owner financed. That's not true. Yeah. So 10, that's not true. Yeah. Some of them are owner finance, some of them are private lenders out of the first 10. The number 11, I had a partner and I got the deal owner financed. Okay. And then number 12 through 16, I syndicated what I did. Okay. So that means I crowdfunded the deals. I also got them owner financed. I did JV agreements, I had GPs, and I had LPs. Okay. And that's kind of how it worked for me. The first 10, I did just regular like creative deal structures, owner financing, and debt lending. The 11th one, I was like, hey, I'm gonna partner on a deal. Let's try that. And then by the 12th one, I was like, you know what? I'm ready to just like do some bigger deals. I want to get out there and do really big deals, and I need a lot of money. So I really need to understand how to syndicate, how to crowdfund, how to do like, how to set up partnership agreements, this kind of stuff. Okay, now that's me, and I'm also like slow and steady wins the race. My husband and I, it looks like we do a lot of things, but the truth is like we are super slow. Like everything we do, it just takes forever. All right, so this is like 8 years in the making right here. Okay, but like my students, I mean, I told you the first deal on this one that I just went over. The first deal that the student bought was like maybe 300K. And then the second deal was 3 million. Okay. And then like the other one that I just told you about, the other student now owns 5 facilities. The first one was a little tiny one, maybe 250K. The second one was like 600K. The third one was like 1 million. The fourth one was like, 1.5 million. And then the fifth one was like 2 million. This one right here, they syndicated. And the sixth one is the one where I'm gonna bring the money in and we're gonna do a JV and we're gonna get it owner financed. All right, so like my students, they're like, if you really kind of figure this out, they're like way faster than us. So it looks like, we're really fast and we kind of know what we're doing. But the truth is my husband and I, we're just like super slow. But if you have somebody that's showing you and teaching you how to do this, how to find money and how to structure deals and how to really kind of just visually understand how all this works and how to do deal analysis, then it really just goes a lot faster. And the only thing that holds, like for instance, on this person, like this person right here, the only thing that is holding this person back is finding deals, finding good deals, because it's hard to find good deals, right? And then the money is there, like they're ready now. They're ready to do more deals. Okay, so you get to the point now where the only two things that you're really focusing on is either finding deals or finding money. And if you can do these two things, then the sky is the limit, right? So that is kind of what it is. I wanted to just point out that, the boot camp is coming up in May. I hope people come to it because it's not going to get any easier to find deals and find money. And if you don't educate yourself on these creative deal structures and raising money, then you're not going to make it. All right. There's too many players out there that know how to do it. And you're also competing with people like me, right? And there's a lot of me's out there, so like your buy box, the chance for you to get into this industry and to actually do well and be successful is shrinking. And it's only going to get more and more difficult. So, I really hope that you come to the boot camp. It's a virtual boot camp. You don't have to travel or do anything. You just hop on Zoom, listen for 2 days, and I will take you through all 16 of my deals and show you how I how I found the money and how I structured those deals. Okay. That is the purpose of the Funding Them Boot Camp in May. Okay. So you should have gotten the first email today on that. We're starting to email out about it. And that's why I kind of wanted to talk about that today. And all my students that are StorageNerd students, they all get to come to that for free, but everybody else will have to pay for it. I typically don't open up my boot camps to the public. Like I've never done it outside of now. This is the first time. And this boot camp only happens once a year. Once a year, that's it. So if you're if you really do want to get into commercial deal analysis and commercial real estate, highly recommend just coming and sitting and listening so you can really visually understand how to structure commercial deals. Okay, that's it. All right, I see James is asking about the wholesaling. Yeah, wholesaling was in the finding boot camp, James. So I do wholesaling in the finding boot camp, which was in January. So that is not going to happen again until January of next year, because I only do my boot camps once a year. I do have a wholesaling course that's going to come out, but the wholesaling course is still being worked on. It's going to take a little longer. I need to do a couple more videos and stuff on it. So eventually it'll come out. Within the next couple months, it'll come out. Okay. Any other questions about what I went over? Anything with funding, raising capital, or the boot camp that's coming out? We have Michelle saying, I don't mind, if you don't mind, how do you get around the syndication rules? Since technically if someone is providing money for passive lending and not actively involved, it's considered a syndication. The syndication, you have to set up a PPM. You can structure your you can structure your deal any way that you want. You can have a syndication where you have like a GP, like GPs and LPs, and you raise the money just for the down payment, and then you have the deal seller financed. The structure of the deal doesn't matter, okay? In a syndication, we'll go over that actually in the boot camp. And my attorney, his name is David. He's going to come into the boot camp. He's going to talk about SEC rules and stuff like this as well too. So you can ask him. Oh, he's an SEC attorney. That's all he does. And so like he's going to come on and just like ramble about SEC stuff for like an hour probably as well too. Okay, why wasn't this still considered for SBA? This still was not like, we wanted to have we could have done an SBA loan, but we wanted to have a fixed rate. And the SBA is remember, most of the time SBA is a variable rate. Okay, now only in some circumstances and some lenders can you do fixed rates. Right now you're seeing more SBA loans with fixed rates. But back in the day, there was no fixed rates for SBA loans because the rates were so low. They want that to be variable, right? So just think about it. If we would have got an SBA loan, we got it at 6% or 6.5, whatever the interest rate was, it would now be at 13% interest. So you don't want to get into a deal at 13% interest unless the numbers work. Now, I have a deal right now that's an SBA loan, and we are paying like 11% interest. And it works. The numbers work because we're, doubling the value of that property. Are not doubling, tripling the value of that property. But if you don't have that spread, you can't afford that interest rate. Okay. And a $6.5 million facility, you would have to put an offer in for $4 million just to make the deal work. I mean, why would you sell a $6.5 million property for $4 million when you did all the work? Like I would never sell. I mean, I literally took it from $300,000 to $600,000 a year. Why would I sell this property to you? So this is how owners think. Okay. Question about finding deals. What information should I ask the seller for analysis? That is on the deal analyzer course. Everything that you need in order to run deal analysis is in the deal analyzer course. All right. So that's what you can do, is purchase that and watch that. Private money lenders need to know, like, and trust you. Exactly. That's why I said your private money lenders are going to be like friends, family, and colleagues in the beginning, right? So your private money lenders look like this, okay? So you have you have a couple of different circles. This is why I teach in the boot camp, all right? Just some little taste of it. But this is your circle right now of your private lenders. This is this is your friends, family, colleagues. Okay, that's how big your circle is. It's not a big circle. Yeah, we all know that. But you do have friends, family, and colleagues that you can ask that may give you 20, 30, 50K. And the truth is everyone's like, oh no, this person doesn't have money. I'm gonna tell you, a lot of people have money. A lot of people have money. All right. So just put this whole mindset thing away. And then you have the second portion right here. So this is first tier. Second tier, this is going to be like acquaintances. Okay. I don't know how to spell acquaintances, but that's the acquaintances right there. Okay. Acquaintances are people from that know these people, right? So then once you start getting one private lender or two, they're like, oh, I have a friend that can do this. I have another friend. And so that's kind of how, I have 100 investors right now. And it's all these people are just referring each other, and it's just building off of each other. Right, so you got to get your first little tiny handful and build that out, and then that starts growing from there. Okay. And then these right here, these are strangers. You cannot ask strangers for money. You cannot, by law, ask people for money that you do not know. All right? So you're going against the SEC rules. We're gonna go deeply into this in the boot camp. But so the only way that you can ask strangers for money is when you syndicate, right? And only with the 506C, right? So I'll show you how to do that in the boot camp as well. Okay, thank you. James and Heather and Caesar are the only three people that amused me by saying they want to do a deal like this. So I'm assuming that everybody else that listens to this does not want to do a deal, doesn't want to take a $3 million deal to a $6 million, right? Okay, that's fine. You can just go buy a small deal, whatever you can afford. Just keep your buy box small. Okay, good. Caesar. Could the seller financing part, could the seller finance part of the purchase? Yes. The seller can do anything. If the seller has equity, the seller can do anything that you ask them to do. I can't wait to tell you how I bought a facility by bringing a partner in. I mean, actually, you know what? The funny thing is like, okay, yeah, these facilities right here, these 16 facilities, okay, all these facilities, I have never put any money into purchasing a facility in any of the facilities. No money into purchasing. Outside of like this is a lot of real estate right here. There's a lot of real estate. Outside of maybe 25 to 50K total. Maybe in all 16 facilities. Now I have put operating expenses in, right? Because we buy severely mismanaged facilities. That's how I get the private lenders to work with me and say, look, you give me the money to purchase and you purchase this thing and I will manage the operations. If we have to come out of pocket for anything, I will come up with that money. Right, that's kind of how I get 100% of the purchase price. We'll get into a lot of different tactics on what you can say and stuff, but I haven't put down my own money into any of these deals. I'm always thinking, how can I buy this deal without coming up with any money to buy this deal? That is how I think. And the reason why I think that like that is because, and that's this era right now. You should be thinking, how can I buy this property without putting any money into this property? Okay. When I got started in real estate, I got started in like 2010. There were no banks available for money. There was no traditional financing. Or I could not go to a bank and get it. So because of that, I started thinking outside the box. And I started asking people for money and they started giving me all this money. There was a lot of money out there and there was a lot of properties out there to buy, but there was no banks that were going to finance. So I ended up becoming really, really good at asking people for money. And that is how I got 16 facilities. This is just 16. I've done like 250 transactions in the last, 10 since 2010. I've done a lot of transactions. Okay. And I've put a dime of my own money into any of them. And how did I do that? All right. It's because I thought outside the box in order to fund my deals. Okay. Question. Let's see. If you don't put your own money in, how does the equity split decide? Then you just negotiate it. That's all negotiations. Just like I said, like Heather, she put only $150,000 into a $3 million deal. And then they came up with a fair equity split because she was going to manage the property and do all the work, and get it up to from $300,000 to $600,000. So that's worth something. So the people that partnered with her were okay with giving a split to her because of that. So it's all just how you sit and negotiate and your negotiation tactics, and actually really like, what you think you're worth, right? What do you think you're worth? And I've done deals where like I don't make a lot of percentage. Like in the beginning, I was like, oh, I'll just give it all away. And now I'm like, no, if you want to do a deal with me, we gotta do this. That's just how it is, right? So it's really the value. Like I have like on my phone, I have a pop-up that pops up like I don't know, maybe around like 9 o'clock at night. Every night it pops up as a reminder, and it just says like, it says I'm worth the money that I make, right? Because this is a mindset thing, right? People don't value themselves as highly as they should, because of that. They don't negotiate and they don't learn how to negotiate properly. And sometimes it takes a couple of times for you to figure it out, but you should start telling yourself, I'm worth the money that I make. I value myself, at a high level, and then you start negotiating. And the truth is that people will work with you. You just know how to talk to them. They'll work with you. So anyways, that's my 2 cents. I'm sticking to it. And then Caesar's asking when the coaching student, my doors open. I don't know when I'm going to open the doors to Storage Nerds again. So make sure that you're on the list and that you're on the wait list. You can just go to StorageNerds.com. Let me just pull this up. I really honestly have the doors closed because I'm trying to really help the students that are in there to get the deals. So but StorageNerds.com is where you can get on the wait list. But for now, you can buy the course. It's super simple self-storage. You can get the deal analyzer. You can come to the Wednesday trainings. And you can join the Facebook group. And this will at least help you get you started for when I do open the doors. And I highly recommend, I didn't put that, but I highly recommend if you can, come to the boot camp, right? May 18th and 19th, okay? And just come spend a couple days with me and let's learn how to fund some deals, okay? All right, I appreciate you guys hanging on till the end, and I will see you guys at the next session. Take care.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Storage Nerds. Hope this informative conversation inspired you to go out there and jump into this highly profitable business venture that people rarely talk about. Get more tips on storage space investing at www.stacyrossetti.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the show and leave a rating. Together, let's build that thriving passive income one storage space at a time. Until next time.